Actress, filmmaker, and musician Krsy Fox turns fear into art, transforming darkness into stories of power, survival, and identity. Her work in horror reveals the kind of truth that lingers long after the lights come back on. This Halloween, The Significance steps into the shadows with Krsy Fox. We live in a world where fear is something we're taught to outrun. But Krsy Fox has built a life by running straight into it. Her work in horror is about survival, motherhood, identity, and the monsters we all carry. Through music and cinema, she's proven that significance isn't about escaping fear. It's about transcending it. Krsy, welcome to The Significance. We're really happy you're here with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here too.
So let's go back to the beginning. So you grew up on Vancouver Island. Before acting, before music, before film, what circumstances shaped the person that you would one day become?
You know, I was always like a super creative, artistic person. And where I grew up, that wasn't a common thing, including, you know, a lot of the people in my family. I was very much like an alien to most people, kids I went to school with and, you know, my family. And I always, since I was little, wanted to be an actor and a singer and, you know, my parents not really knowing that world at all. They're like, oh, well, you can't really do that. You have to know somebody. That was always what I was told. So, you know, it sort of started there. I always kind of had this yearning to perform and create, and I would write short stories, I would write song lyrics, and I would just immerse myself in movies, and I would learn scenes and just and then, you know, when I was 12, I actually met my birth father. I didn't know him till I was 12. And when I was introduced to him, he actually was working in the construction department on the X-Files. And so I was like,
I can't believe that small world.
Yeah, so I was like, now I know somebody, right? Although, you know, he had zero to do with, you know, my path of becoming an actress, but that was sort of all I needed to hear. I was like, well, I have to know somebody. I have to know somebody. Well, I get to go to the set of the X-Files, and I got to meet David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson and watch them shoot. And that was really cool. And so that, and then I started visiting him in Vancouver, and then I went and got myself an agent. And so then I started auditioning and doing all that. And eventually when I was 15, I just moved to Vancouver and sort of started being there all the time and working. And yeah, so I've been doing this for a really long time.
You were cast in Underworld Evolution at age 12. What did stepping into a world of vampires and monsters so young teach you about your own relationship to fear and storytelling? I mean, that must have been amazing.
Well, Underworld, I was actually older. I was actually 20 when I did that one. I did some earlier. I remember like early on, I had like a line in one of the Halloween movies. And I always have been drawn to horror movies. And so that was like a big part of who I was. I stumbled upon the Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I was a little kid, and I was so traumatized and horrified by what I just saw. And then I like immediately wanted to watch it again because nothing made me feel so exhilarated. So yeah, when Underworld came along, I was actually I was a big fan because they had already released the first one and this was the sequel. And I was like a fan of the first film. And so I really wanted to do it. But you know, it was pretty risque for my age. I was young, I was nervous, but they made me feel really comfortable. So I ended up just going for it. At first I was like, I don't know. My agent's like, you have to do this. This is like and I'm so glad I did. It was the first like really large budget set I'd ever been on. And it was just like this crazy experience of like giant dudes in werewolf costumes and stills walking around. And yeah.
Wow.
It
What
was
an experience.
Wow.
it was amazing. And Len Wiseman directed that, and he had such a strong vision of like what he wanted, how everything should look, to the point that like we shot this one scene and he's like, here, watch this. Now listen to this music. This is what I want the music to sound like. He's like, this is a trailer moment, so watch this. And so I learned a lot from just him being so hands-on and so involved, to like the point where we would do, makeup rehearsals. And so, yeah, I actually was really grateful for that being one of my earlier, larger experiences. And it was so fun. And, then you get the bug to like want to be bloody or be a vampire all the time. 'Cause it's
Oh,
awesome.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
How old were you what was your first project then, and at what age?
The first thing I did, I played, there was a TV show called Just Cause, and it was like a small part. I played a witness to like a kidnapping, and my dog was in it with me. It was very exciting. And yeah, and I was just screaming for help. And it was like a series that ran for, a few years, and it was great. It was like very exciting. I think I was really young. I was probably like 15 maybe, or 14, which was like my
Wow.
first real professional
Uh-huh.
set. That wasn't like, because I did music videos and things like that, but this was like, oh, like this is a narrative space and this is different, and I get to really go for it. So that was exciting. And then after that, Vancouver is a really busy place to live and work as an actor, and you really get to know people. You get to know all the casting directors and that community. Like I can still to this day watch a series or a show and be like, that was shot in Vancouver, because
Oh
I recognize all
yeah.
the
You know
actors.
it
I'm
so
like, I know.
well.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, which is awesome, because, no one else would know that unless you're in that universe. So yeah.
You led Knee-High Fox and co-wrote songs that made the charts while touring with bands like Marilyn Manson. So what did the chaos of the stage teach you about commanding energy and emotion?
There is truly nothing like performing live with your band, because, when you make a film, it's very exhilarating, or you record a track, you eventually get there, but like, it's like this immediate feedback, this immediate energy that goes back and forth between you and the audience. I'm so glad that I dove into that experience and toured as long as I did. I can see myself probably going back and doing that again at some point. I haven't toured much since I had my daughter. I've recorded like songs and written songs for other bands as well, but I've been more in the film world since I've had my daughter. But no, I can't even explain it. Yeah, it's just this like visceral thing where you just feed off the energy, and it's almost like the more energy you give them, the more energy they give you back. And so it really, when I started working in music and writing music, it's all about feel, right? And it's all about like the way, so, and like, I never question sort of the way I write a lyric. I'm like, if it feels right and it tells a story and it makes me feel something, then it is right. And so that's actually helped me in film, let myself go, especially when it comes to like horror and
No,
just,
definitely.
you have to be unhinged. And also like when I edit, because I'm an editor and I edit films, and it really taught me to trust the feel of the flow of how I edit. So I probably edit and approach an edit differently than someone who maybe went to school for it traditionally. I never did. I was self-taught. So yeah, music's helped me in a million ways.
So you lived inside both the machine of mainstream entertainment and the raw freedom of indie creation. Was there a moment that you realized you needed to control every part of your storytelling, from acting to writing to directing, even scoring your own films?
Yeah, it was a long process. First of all, like when I started, I was actually talking about this recently. When I started as an actor as a kid, it was a different universe. I had great experiences, but there was also some like very strange experiences, and maybe some hurtful experiences that nowadays my daughter's now getting into acting, and she's still very young, but I go to a set with her, and it just the level of respect that children and women are given. And she just recently did a show that was produced by women. It stars women. The director was a woman. The DP was a woman. And I was like, see, you can do all of this. And I also find that men in this space now have so much more awareness of other people's feelings. And I really enjoy, and I feel safer in this modern space of entertainment, which is great. And I'm sure a lot of women feel that way. But yeah, no, I mean, music was similar. I was writing with rock bands. I was the only girl for
Mm.
years. Every session I would go in,
Oh,
I'm the
wow.
only
You
one.
probably have a couple
Yeah.
stories about that, no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, you have no idea. I
Oh,
was
I'm
very
sure.
loud voice. I found editing because honestly, started with music and producing and directing music videos. And I realized I had this love for just, I felt like the edit was almost like another side of the really creative process. Like if you
Hmm.
weren't directing something, if you edited it, you could change the story and the path of it.
Exactly.
So I took a break from acting and I did my band for a long time and I was writing and then I really missed it. So when I decided to come back, I was like, oh, you're kind of starting from the beginning again because you step back and you haven't been actively auditioning. There's new casting, there's new everything. So I realized very quickly that the best way to get roles and do roles that I wanted to do was for me and my partner to start a production company and write them and produce them and direct them and make the films that we want to make and tell the stories we want to tell. And then I get to play characters that I really have always wanted to play. And I don't have to sit and wait for permission or to be asked by somebody else. So that sort of started, we started our production company a little before, but when COVID really hit was sort of the time where
Hmm.
music was stopped. There was no touring, there was nothing.
Nothing
And we're
was
like,
going on.
this is the time that we need to start making films. And we
Hmm.
did. And we've been making, sometimes a couple a year since then. And it's gone very well. And we're just loving being in this creative space and like being able to, yeah, like from beginning to end, whether he writes it or I write it or he directs it,
Mhm.
we produce it together, we shoot it, we cast it together, and then we go into post and I edit it. And then it gets into like the music and all the sound. And it's been a very rewarding experience to realize how much you're capable of and not to like waste your time and to put your energy into. Yeah.
A lot of people ask me what's the hardest thing about the entertainment industry, and I always say it's the show business part, not draining the creativity part.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so when you're creating, and I know doing independent myself, I know that if you're creating the culture, it's a world of difference too in enjoyment of it too, and not losing
Mhm.
the reason why you got into it to begin with,
The
So,
love of it. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Passion.
Yeah, and it's great. You get to work with people you love. We were talking about Barbara Crampton earlier and one of my best friends and be like, hey, there's a great part in this movie for you. Do you want to do it? And it's like, you can just do those things because you get the say in it, And so, yeah, I've been really lucky. I've been able to work with friends and people I love and meet new people that I love. And just, yeah, it's been a really great, yeah,
And she's
Amazing.
wonderful, Barbara. She's really
she's the best.
solid and wonderful and beautiful. I'm like, like that woman doesn't change.
Yeah.
My
Speaking
goodness.
of vampires, like she might be a vampire. We're
Exactly.
not sure.
That's,
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
We suspect. You
Yeah,
heard
well,
it here
what's
first.
what's funny is before my daughter met her officially, she saw Jacob's Wife, her movie.
Uh-huh.
And so for like a year and a half, because she was so little when she met Barbara, she thought she was a real vampire. So she
Oh
thought
my
that was really,
goodness.
my daughter
That's
loved
I
hearing
love it.
that.
I love
Yeah.
it.
hysterical.
So we just let her believe it. It was great.
This is hysterical.
Wonderful.
So your film Frank explores abuse, survival, and the deal that we make with our own demons. How much of that story was metaphorical or for you personally, and what was like embodying Ruby's fight for her life?
That was my first feature that I directed. And this was like the height of COVID. So I wanted to do something ambitious that was close to me. I think unfortunately we've all lost people to suicide and things like that. And so I wanted to incorporate that part of the story, but I also wanted it to be a family story. And I wanted there to be other perspectives. And I wanted to incorporate things that scared me in each,
Mm-hmm.
like physically, like I used to have sleep paralysis and I would see something in my room. And so one of the stories is sort of around that. And it's
Mhm.
from like a real experience. So yeah, it was sort of one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this anthology style. We're going to do one story at a time. Nobody knew what COVID really was or what, like, it was a scary, scary thing until we started understanding it more and realizing sort of that there's ways to keep yourself safe. And this was like very early. So I was not positive that we were even going to get through the shoot. Also at that time, like if anybody got sick, everything was shut down.
Right.
That means with a with a shoot like this that
Yeah.
you would just lose all that money and
Yeah.
that would be it. You don't have more. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
So we ended up getting through it, and it was the most therapeutic experience for me and the other actors and all the crew. Everyone was sitting around doing nothing. Super talented people who worked all the time were like, we had nothing. And so it sort of became like this thing. We got to go to work every day and be together. It was like a super, super skeleton crew, small, small, small. And yeah, I think we all just felt like it was like a therapy. We got to like, and our DP got to shoot something really fun, and our makeup artist got to create. And so I am so grateful for that movie and that experience. And it taught me a lot about going forward and about selling films, making things
Mm-hmm.
independently, and realizing there's a demand for that. And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of changed the trajectory of like One Fox Productions and what we did with our projects, and realizing we could be fiercely independent and make things and then get them distributed later and really make the stories we wanted to tell. So yeah, it was super rewarding.
And how wonderful that you bring this incredible group of people together and you all know each other, you have history, and you collaborate together. That creates just, an amazing product. And then when you're having fun doing it as well, it's just it's just a frosting on the cake.
It was amazing. Honestly, it's the reason I got to meet one of my other now best friends, Bonnie Aarons, who plays the nun.
Oh, so that's where you first,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
I did a different story. One of the earlier stories starred this girl, Asher Parsons, who was a friend of mine, and she did a great job in her segment. And I was looking for a specific type of person for the last story. And she's like, my friend Bonnie Aarons, I told her about you and she really wants to work with you. I'm like, of course. We talked on the phone. But again, COVID. So you don't, the first time we met, I think, was when we did a wardrobe fitting, and then we shot together. So we really got to know each other in like a very like,
Short amount of
so that,
time.
and yeah. And so then, that became a really significant relationship in my life. And we're family now. So it's amazing.
COVID was so horrible and there were so many long lasting difficult things that it left us with, but there were also a lot of beautiful things that came out of it too, that you kind of
Yeah.
people were forced to reevaluate how to do things differently, and then
Mhm.
things like you're explaining, came out of COVID.
You should always try to look at the positive side of anything you can. It was an awful time, but like, yes, you're right. Beautiful things. And I think we all are like still relearning how to be back in society since then. And I think it's almost like you have more patience for other people because you're like, oh yeah, no, we went through something absolutely horrific together that no one else will relate to other than our generation.
Personally, I don't grow when everything's going my way. The
Mhm.
Yeah.
growth comes when I am pushed up against a wall and I have to dig deep and figure out, I'm looking at priorities, what's important, what matters. And I think it was a tremendous opportunity for people to grow and change because
Mhm.
exactly what you said, you had to find a different approach to everything. There
Mhm.
was no getting
Yeah.
around it. And a lot of really beautiful creative things came out of that. So
Yeah. I
Mhm.
think people either really tried to be, yeah, creative, or they kind of sadly fell into like the depression of it all, and sat at home day after day and drank, and and so I knew that if I let myself do that, it was a really, and I had a 6 month old when this started, so I was like, I need to be taking care of my mental health as well because it will make me better for her. And I actually worried a lot for her because she, in that age, like never saw people's faces. And I was like, oh my gosh. And is she going to be super like reclusive and
right,
shy
right.
and
Mhm.
reserved? Just so you know, it was the complete opposite, and I've
Mm.
never met a more outgoing human being in
Oh
my
my
entire life.
goodness.
I think it pushed her to be like, people give me everybody. So she's,
Right.
yeah.
That's wonderful, but you
That's
know what?
awesome.
She's got a beautiful example in you, Chrissy. You don't get
Oh,
pears
thank
from an
you.
apple tree. Anyway,
Mhm.
Thank you.
that's my personal opinion. So in Little Bites, you play a mother trying to protect her daughter from a flesh-eating monster. But you said it's not just a monster movie, it's about parenthood itself. What truths about sacrifice, fear, and protection were you channeling into Mindy?
When Spider first told me about the idea for Little Bites, I was like, this, because we're both parents, we both have a daughter together. I was like, oh, this sounds great. I love this. But as I was reading the script, if there was ever a project that I'm like, I have to be Mindy. I'm like, I connect to this so deeply. The insane fear and everyone will tell you I'm insanely protective of my daughter. And so all I could think about
Boy,
was
do I
her when I
relate
was
to
rating
that.
it. And so honestly, it was her. It was thinking about like life and always trying to protect her. And, that film, it can mean a lot of things to different people. For us, it was about parenthood, but I've known people who have struggled deeply with addiction, with abuse, domestic abuse. And I felt like I used all of those things for Mindy because she was sort of getting it from all angles. It was like all she was doing was trying to be a good mother and love her daughter and protect her daughter. And every person is giving her judgment and coming at her, even her own mother, asks if she's
Mm-hmm.
doing drugs, and she's trying to do is keep her daughter safe. So it made it, once I like just let myself fall into that headspace, I just had to live there. And
Yeah.
throughout the whole shoot, I just lived there, and it was really heavy, but it was kind of very exciting to just fully let myself go and just be another person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every actor goes through something where at least once in their life, where they're like, oh, I just lost myself in this. And I just lost myself in Mindy. I was depressed
Yeah.
for like 2 months when we finished shooting.
Oh
But
boy.
you have to do that. When I did Terrifier 3, it was in a totally different way, similar. I had to see my children and family get
Mm.
murdered in front of me. So, you have
That
to
would
do
be
that
really
justice. You have to
difficult.
think
Yeah.
about, yeah, you have to think about things. That was nice because they let my daughter come to set on a couple of the days. So I'm in between, I could go give her a hug. I talk about acting a lot with people who aren't actors. I'm like, you're going through trauma and your body doesn't know that it's not real. Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
you go through it and you're just a wreck. You're an absolute like I remember there was a day on Little Bites. It was the day that Agyar, the monster, started singing me that mean song about my
Oh
husband.
my,
And
let me tell you, my toes curled.
Ugh.
that I could not stop crying. We only did one take of my coverage, and Spider's like, we have it. He's like, you're not gonna do that again. You have snot running down. But I could not stop crying even after they said cut. I was just like so immersed in the horrible things he was saying to me and how your whole body, you have fight or flight. And I just wanted to leave. I wanted to get out of that room. And at that point, even just, I didn't want to be around the actor. I just didn't want
Mm.
to, I just wanted to leave and I couldn't. And so that's all I could feel. And I remember there was one point he reached over and he touched my hand while he's doing it. And I just felt my whole body just like seize.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
So
so true though about how our bodies, especially when you're doing those type of scenes, it doesn't know that it's make believe. So there is that. Yeah.
When you are an actual mother and you immerse yourself into that type of character, what you can draw on,
Mm-hmm.
to me, it's very revealing. And so it was
oh,
just,
thank you.
it was
I think
palatable.
thank you. It was interesting. I was watching some interview, I believe with Jennifer Lawrence, and she was talking about how having kids made her a better actor and how she tapped into emotions she didn't know she had. And I think that's completely true. There's a level since having my daughter that I can reach that I didn't know that I had inside my body anymore. And sometimes it surprises you and you don't have control over what you're doing. It's just like the things you have to think about and what you have to lose is so much greater.
Primal is the word that comes to mind for me. It's very primal. And you're right. I think that children do help you to become a much better actor.
This is another segue into this, but you talked about choosing rawness over vanity, even being ugly on screen if that's what the story demands. In a culture obsessed with polish and perfection, what does that commitment to honesty cost you and what does it give you?
At first, you get in your head because I think everybody does. It's not even just a female thing. I think it's just a human thing. Everybody cares about what they put out in the world. But I think that it was very validating the first time I really just let myself go and just let myself look ugly, and when I say ugly, it's just in every aspect. It's in the emotional state and and just now I kind of, those are my favorite kind of characters to play. And then it also makes you realize in real life how much like real relationships matter and happiness matters more than what you look like.
So
I've really
true.
realized
So
I'm
true.
just not going to be one of those people that as I get older and stuff, worrying as much as, some people do, because I just think that maybe that's just not that important to me. And honestly, maybe acting and doing some of these roles where you really have to put yourself out there and a lot of people have to see you like that, it maybe helped me with that, because certainly when I was 20, I probably couldn't have did that. I don't know, but I'm a lot more comfortable as I get older, and my priorities are different. And so I think it's important to just find the beauty inside you. And honestly, that's what makes your outside beautiful. That's just the way I look at it. I'm very attracted to good, kind humans. That is like my favorite thing. I want to
Isn't
surround
that
myself
the
with that all day.
truth, Krsy?
Yeah.
It is the absolute truth. I always say that
Yeah.
kindness is the new sexy. It just
Yes.
is.
It is. I try to just tell my daughter, I'm like, it doesn't matter what you want to do in your life, doesn't matter who you want to grow up to be, just be a good, kind person. That's all I ever want. And when people tell me that she's kind when I'm not there, I feel like I'm like, that's like the best thing you could ever say to me. That's all I care about, you know.
I'm doing my job as a mother correctly. That's
Yeah.
lovely. And it's so true. And in today's society, being kind and random acts of kindness, you don't see that as often. And we put so much importance on where we live, the kind of car we drive, what's in our bank account, et cetera, that I raise my girls saying that just being a kind person is the greatest accomplishment you will ever have.
It just, they're actually contributing something very good to this
Yeah.
world, just by
Exactly.
being that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're making a difference on this spinning planet. And
Exactly.
right on, Krsy. I love it. So you and Spider One not only share a marriage, you share an artistic partnership. I love this question. How do you balance love and creation? And what has working with your partner taught you about vulnerability and trust?
You know, people ask us this a lot, like, how do you guys not kill each other? Because, you know, a lot of couples can't work together. And believe me, there are days that we don't agree and we do want to. But in general, even though he's older than me, and his sensibilities and some of the films that maybe inspired him versus the ones that inspired me growing up, that were my influential films as a child, might be different, we come together and we really tend to have a lot of the same sensibilities. So that, first of all, is amazing. We trust each other. We work together a lot in the beginning. And honestly, like, there's something about doing a role like Little Bites and doing a scene like the scene I was telling you about, you know, this, and knowing that he's sitting in the other room and he's watching and he's got me.
Right.
It really is an amazing comfort. And, you know, I know that he feels like when I then take the movie and I start editing it, he really trusts me. We really get each other's vision. So we work together incredibly well. And honestly, it's made our relationship so much stronger because, you know, a lot of times you maybe don't understand exactly what your partner does at work, and where we do. And then those big moments, like we're about to premiere our new movie, and no one's seen it yet, and we're going to have that experience, and we get to look at each other at the end of the day and be like, we did this, and we can celebrate it together. And those moments are like, you know, we bleed for our projects it's crazy. And so just to have your partner really understand and you be able to, like, this is ours. It's really special. It's sort of like having a kid together, you know? It's like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it is. You're giving birth to something. It absolutely is. How long have the two of you been together now?
We've been together going on 13 years.
That's wonderful.
Thanks. We've known each other a long time. We first met when we were married to other people, and we were friends. And actually, the first thing we ever did that made us friends is we worked on a pitch for a TV series that he wanted, and that ended up going to MTV years and years ago. So the first thing we ever did was something creative together. So it totally makes sense that, you know, all these years later, and we ended up like sort of losing touch and came back together, and we were both divorced. And it was like, oh, this is a different dynamic all of a sudden. And
we always talk about the universe has its plan. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can tell you.
How great is it to be friends beforehand?
Yeah.
You know, to know each other as good friends and have that foundation.
Yeah.
And then move into the romantic aspect of it. I think that's a lovely story.
Thank you.
I love it.
Well, before I get to my next question, you brought it up, so I would be remiss for the audience to not mention your role in Terrifier 3.
Yes.
As an independent filmmaker, it must have been extraordinary for you to be a part of such a groundbreaking franchise. Whether you're a fan of horror or not, just the way it was made and the success it had is inspiring to all independent filmmakers. So if you could talk a little bit about just being a part of that
is
yeah.
So true.
I mean, first of all, yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I think what Damien's done is a massive inspiration, and it broke all these barriers, and it really showed independent filmmakers what you could do if you put the work in. That guy
Mhm.
works so hard. But no, I mean, when it first sort of came up, I was a fan of the first film. Going back to music, when I opened for Marilyn Manson, the guitar player Paul and I became friends, and he composes music for film. And he was like, "Hey, I just did this crazy clown movie called Terrifier. You should watch it." He's like, "I think you're gonna like it." So I watched it when it came out, and I was like, "This is different. Like, this is crazy. Like, there's something about this that I really could see what people were grabbing onto." And this
Mhm.
was like before it became like it was
Yeah,
everywhere,
yeah.
and I was like, wow, this is really awesome. And then two came out, and I had a joint birthday party. Okay, so it's sort of a long, convoluted story. So basically, I started talking to Damien and David. Damien's the director, and David is Art the Clown. Sort of online, because my daughter got very obsessed at like 2 years old with the clown.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
she didn't see the movies. She does love scary movies, but Terrifier was a bit much
Uh-huh.
too.
Right.
But so I would let her watch like some of the in between scenes that are like him being silly, or him, before he
Mhm.
like scalps a girl. And so, so
Good plan. Good
yeah,
plan.
let's not raise a serial killer. Although at this
Yeah.
point, that's a different conversation. But so she got really into it, and so I would like send them little videos of her, and they would love to see it, because like little kids embracing the clown is really funny. And then we got to know each other. We were sort of friendly, but they live in New York and Jersey and stuff. So I didn't really ever get to see them in real life. And so my friend Scout Taylor Compton and I had a joint birthday party a few years back, and Damien was in town, and we both knew him. So we're like, come to the birthday party. And so, we were hanging out, and I was like, God, I just love these movies so much. I'm like, if there's ever anything, just so you know, I would like love to do it. And he's like, there might be something in 3 for you. And I just was like, oh, that's sweet. Like, I just,
Yeah, yeah, you
bar
know how
talk,
it is.
being
Yeah.
nice. But it was nice that he said it. And then literally a year later, he messaged me, and he's like, so are you still like down for that? And I was like, yes. And also, how bad is it? He's like, oh man, it's brutal. And I was like,
Whoa.
this is awesome. So
Whoa.
he's like, basically, you'd be the Drew Barrymore in Scream. And I was like, also one of my favorite movies ever. So he sent the script, and I was just like, this is beyond. There's no way they're going to be able to show all this. And for the record, they did. And yeah, and then I had sent him a couple scenes actually from Little Bites. I was like, hey, just so you know, this is something recent I did. I'm playing a mother. He wanted me to play a mother in Terrifier. So here's something I just shot. And he's like, this is great. He's like, I really want you to do this if you want to do it. I'm like, yes. So I knew for so long, and I couldn't tell anybody. And I was so excited. And then, yeah, we shot it, and it was one of the craziest things I'd ever shot, because it was so visceral, but also just the amount of prosthetics and how
Yeah.
far he goes with the effects it was
Right.
so inspiring
Yeah.
and so fun. We had the best time. And then just watching, then, you get to be part of something. And it was something I liked, but I started to learn as I got announced, and I was going to things like about the fan base for Terrifier, and the fans are just the most incredible, supportive, like another level. So it just came out and exceeded beyond anyone's
Yeah.
imagination.
Oh my,
Although
yeah.
No
I did tell
kidding.
him before I came out, I was like, this is going to make $100 million. And he's like, okay. And then sure enough, Damien. I was like,
Wow. What a
because I could
great
just tell.
story.
I mean,
Yeah.
the merchandising alone,
Yeah.
like it's just but to me, as a filmmaker, I know you got
Mhm.
how inspiring it was to independent filmmakers, like I said,
Oh, yeah.
regardless if you like horror or not, just this is what you can do, if
Oh,
if
yeah.
you,
I mean, and
yeah.
also like that the talents he used, like he was like an effects artist, and he's like, I want to make something that I can show my talents, and and just watching how hard, like, I swear we shot all my stuff, and before I got to the airport, we shot in Staten Island, and before I got to the airport to go home, he sent me like a rough edit. I'm like, when did you sleep? Like, he's incredible. And yeah, when I went to the premiere in New York, I cried after, because I was so emotional for him, and so proud, and just like so proud of everybody and everyone's just such a family. We just did the grand opening of Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, and just sort of seeing like the fandom that these movies have created, and what he did from literally he drove a flower van and wrote
Oh,
in
I love
between,
that. I love
and
that.
that's how, yeah. So he's a big inspiration, and
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
absolutely.
You said that horror was your first love, from The Craft and Scream to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So these films shaped you in a way. How do you honor those influences while carving out a voice that's distinctly your own?
I think the things that you see at a young age, especially if you're coming up and being an actor, you get influenced by things you love. And like I said, I was always like sort of like an alien to the people from my town and where I grew up. And so I saw The Craft and I was like, oh, those are the girls that I want to hang out with. See, there's people like me. They get it. They want to be witches, you know? So, so I think the films, influenced me a lot. I think that the type of characters that they're playing, and I think, and especially like the 90s, and, just even like the final girls were strong. Like Nev Campbell's character was strong and Scream. And so it was just inspiring to want to be like that. And, like I said, horror is just the most fun because you get to do everything. You can do comedy, you get drama, and you get these raw emotional performances. And I don't know how it's not being recognized more,
Right, right.
You see things like, you see Toni Collette and like
Oh,
in
yeah.
Hereditary, and
Yeah.
you're like,
Whoa.
that is insane. Like,
Yes.
Well, I was so
performances, like,
happy. I was so happy about Demi's nomination because,
absolutely.
I'm always thinking about the overall for all of us, what certain
100%.
things do, so absolutely.
No, I absolutely. I think that if you can do an amazing performance in a horror film, you can do anything, like truly anything, and you'll go for it. You're the person I'd want to bet on if I was, casting a film.
With
Yeah.
Leaders Digest, you've also stepped into immersive podcast storytelling. How does the intimacy of audio horror differ from the spectacle of film? And what freedoms have you found in that medium?
That show is one of the things I'm like most proud of. I think that me and Spider and our friends Trevor and Lauren, we really obviously love telling scary stories, but we didn't want to just do a podcast that was like, let's read a scary story we found on the internet. So instead we decided to make it like those old school, like radio shows, and it was fully sound designed. We had guests like, horror, or not even just horror, just guest actors in almost every episode. And we would write an original story for every episode. So it was
Wow.
insanely demanding. It took up all of our time, but I still go back. Like, I swear I want to make a movie out of like 20 of those stories. And the fan base really embraced it, which was cool. Like just seeing like the numbers of people that would listen to our stories. And, you could get your stories heard so much quicker than making a film. But the thing is, it eventually got to the point where it was like, it took up so much time that we had to take a pause because we were trying to do too many, all of us, like a million trillion things. But yeah, no, I mean, since it's Halloween, everyone go listen to some Bleeders Digest stories because they're really fun and they're really spooky. And I was just on a road trip and I had a friend who'd never heard them. And we were driving at night and I was like, let me put one of them on. And we were just all like moody.
That's so cool.
And it was really fun just to like revisit them. And, it's like an audio book, but even more immersive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
and
amazing.
you think about it when you were, as a child, didn't you? Me and my sister love scary stories. We'd live for them. You'd scare me even more. You'd be scared out of your, scared to death, but then you'd come back for more. Like, oh, okay, I want to hear more. So it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, we had so much fun doing this.
Horror is often dismissed as escapism, and yet you've used it as a mirror for identity, trauma, and resilience. What have you learned about yourself by creating monsters and surviving them?
I've learned to embrace the weirdness. I've always sort of been that kid, like I said, that was a little weird, a little black sheep sort of. And I think that that's sort of what makes me unique and special. And my daughter's a lot like me. We got the first week of school an email that the entire first grade class is scared that now the school is haunted. And so,
Oh my goodness.
and they didn't point fingers, but I picked her up and I was like, so, hey, what's up with this haunted thing? She's like, oh yeah, I told all the kids that Annabelle followed me to school. And I was like, I knew it was her. But I was kind of proud of her. I was like, that's what you do when you're a kid.
I know, exactly.
Don't look for dead bodies. Like, that was what we did. You know, it was like, oh, there's scary stuff in the woods. Let's go. You know, so I think it really taught me just to embrace the things I like, and that, you know, being unique is great. And there's nothing wrong with being scared. And, you know, I was always someone who was really uncomfortable, like crying in front of people or showing my emotion too much. And I think acting in horror films has like really released that in me, that now I feel like I can be a much more emotionally open person. I don't know what the reason is, but I guess, you know, and I'm actually grateful for that, because, you know, I want to show my daughter that you don't have to, you should cry. I think there's strength in just showing your emotions and telling people how you really feel. And so, yeah, I think that it's helped me in a million ways and made me feel like I belonged. You know, if you're not familiar with the horror community, but horror fans and the horror community in general, filmmakers, actors, it's the most supportive, inclusive, amazing group of people to be around. You will never find a group of people who are kinder. And, you know, I feel like that's our outlet. And so we can put kindness into the rest of our, our life.
It's so wonderful, though. And you sound like an amazing mother, Krsy. I mean, all the life lessons that you're teaching her. And it's true. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to, you know, get in touch with those feelings of sadness or fear or hurt, whatever it is. It's a gift, so that you teach your children not to suppress all of that. So bravo.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully she's not going to be a serial killer, because she loves scary movies. But
I'm sure she's going to be a wonderful human being, as she already is.
Oh my gosh.
Horror has always carried metaphor, from Frankenstein reflecting industrial anxieties to Get Out, unpacking racism. So how do you see yourself working inside that tradition, and what metaphors do you feel compelled to explore through your films?
I feel like every film has a little bit of that, and that's sort of great. I think it's okay sometimes just to tell like a true story, and everything doesn't have to have I love films like Little Bites, where there's like deeper meanings and thoughts, and it's a divisive movie because it pisses people off too. I think when you're making something like that, it can't be for everybody. I think there's a lot of pressure now on young people, kids, you know. I'm not a huge fan of the social media movement for little kids and young kids, because I think it adds a lot of pressure. I avoided it as long as I could. And I enjoy being on social media and stuff, but I feel like I'm in an age where it can be controlled. And so that's scary. I just think like really diving into more like the pressures of what children have to face now. They have to be afraid to go to school. You know what I mean? It's just a scary time to be a child. And I think because my life revolves so much around my daughter, I think about those things a lot more. So maybe diving more into those feelings, and maybe I'd love to make a film that's sort of a little more focused on a younger generation, and maybe playing with some of those metaphors and what those could mean in a horror film.
Every October, the world leans into fear. Does Halloween, with all the traditions and symbolisms, hold a deeper significance for you personally?
Halloween is our favorite time of year. Like, truly, our house is, I mean, literally, I'm looking at my couch and I have a giant Annabelle sitting on it and pumpkin pillows. So yes, I feel like finally we're here. Oh, that's my black cat fighting right now. So
oh no, he says, I want to be in this podcast, please.
Yeah. So, I mean, we wait all year for this. This is like, and you know, LA is a great place to live if you love Halloween, because it's bigger than Christmas. It's the biggest holiday. Like people, and it's for like 3 months. You're so tired by the time actual Halloween happens that you like almost can't do anything, you know? So yeah, it's a big deal. It's always been a big deal for me. It's like, it's my favorite, but now having a daughter, oh my gosh, stop hissing. Such a bad kitty. Name's Witch too. So there you go. I actually found her in Memphis when I was on tour with Marilyn Manson. She was
wow.
So she toured the country with us, and she lives
You rescued
here.
her.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
She's
That's amazing.
You hear that?
Oh, now
I hear
heard
that.
that.
On cue.
Right?
Trick-or-treating is very exciting too. I'm so excited to like re-experience that. They have a bunch in Burbank specifically. They have a bunch of these like homemade haunted houses that people make, and then they have Magnolia that has like Halloween Town. And then they have this clown house that you can go to, and it has like all these. It's really cool. It's like
Oh,
a
that would
destination.
freak me out. That
I'm
would
going trick or treating
freak
with
me
you
out.
this year.
Yeah,
Call me.
really.
Absolutely.
I'm right down the road from you.
There you go. Yeah, let's do it.
That's wonderful. It reminds me of a story of my oldest daughter, Sienna, when I took her trick-or-treating the first time. And we went to this house in the neighborhood, and it was very, very ornately decorated. And there was this, scary character outside the house. And she rang the doorbell, and she got the candy. She turned around to leave, and they jumped out. She was terrified. She was like, I just want to go home. But then she looked at all the candy that she was getting. She was like, oh, never mind. Scared the bejesus out of me.
That's
Anyway,
hilarious.
you've worked across so many mediums: acting, music, film, podcasting. Which of those worlds has been the most challenging for you to step into, and why?
Acting is always challenging if you're not making your own content, because it's a mold you always have to fit in. And certainly when I was coming up, I did not fit the mold that everyone was casting, and so that was always the most challenging. I mean, it's still just as challenging to make a film. Like anyone who makes a film, people who feel like they need to go on and troll people and talk and say horrible things. I didn't know if I can swear. So, but
Yeah,
say horrible things about, okay.
You
Well,
can do
talk shit
whatever
about
you're
other people's
comfortable
movies.
doing.
I'm not a fan of that. I think that it's such an accomplishment to complete something.
It
and
is.
It's so much work and time, and the amount of people who put like their full hearts into it. It's just like, it's not an okay thing to do.
It's a miracle anything gets made. So, yeah.
It's so true.
It
With
really
so
is.
many chefs in the kitchen.
100% it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The music industry's changed a lot from when I started. It's a lot harder if you're just a songwriter to make a living. I think that really bands make a living from going on tour. Unfortunately, a lot of the streaming platforms have sort of killed like the songwriting side of it. So really you do that for love, but that's really the reason you should do it anyway. But yeah, I mean, they're all challenging, but I think just living in the film world and the amount of time and energy and clawing and bleeding just to get something
So
made,
true.
I think is
So
always
true.
the hardest. And, but it's also the hardest things are always the most rewarding. So I think that it's completely worth it, and I wouldn't change it for a second. Yeah.
Reinvention has been a constant in your life. What has fueled that journey for you, and what challenges and obstacles have you had to confront just to keep moving forward?
I think the way you evolve as a human, the way you approach things, the way you approach other people, the way you handle disappointment, the way you pick yourself back up. And, I've learned that just because somebody who I maybe looked up to said something that I did isn't worthwhile doesn't mean that someone else won't love it. So I think that just not always just taking the first hit from something and just getting back up and believing in what you're doing and believing in, I think that I'm changing all the time, but I think the older you get, the more comfortable you get with being like, that's okay. You don't have to like it anyway. And I think that that's important to have that mentality. And, I think also having kids and having a family, you're like, I have to make things work. If I want to live and work in this space, I have to work my butt off because it's the hardest thing to do. I could go get, a 9-to-5 job and make great money, I'm sure, and just be comfortable. But I don't think I wouldn't be happy. I've always just been a creative, and I don't think that anyone would be happy working with me in that space. So I know that I wouldn't thrive there the way other people do. So I really try to always be working and always pushing and always, what's the next thing? What else can I do? What else can we make? And there's nothing like just creating. So, even when you're really tired, and there's been days, I was just actually speaking with Spider recently about, we shot this film in the desert, all night shoots over 7 days, a feature. And we
Wow.
both just wanted to curl in the fetal position. And like, I swear, we got to the last couple scenes and I was just shooting me, and I was like, I don't even care. Like, I'll make it work in the edit. Like, let's just not do it. But you push through, and you're so grateful that you did it. And I think that when you do and you look back, you're like, yeah, I was exhausted for a month, but you know what? Like, look what I get in return, or being a part of something like a Terrifier 3 where you're like, the prosthetics and you can't see out of one side of your eye. I had blood in my ear canal for 2 months. But you know
Oh
what? Like,
my.
it was it was worth every second of fun and being part of that group of people and watching it go out in the world and what it can do. I mean, yeah, if you ever feel like, just always reinventing and always pushing and always doing more, and don't just believe in what you believe in, and it doesn't matter what other people say. That's really what I've learned. It's like, it's wonderful when people validate you, but you don't need it. You know, you can validate yourself. So
That's really a very, very healthy perspective on things and so important. So thank you for sharing. I love your honesty. As an actress, musician, director, mother, what would you say to someone who feels that they've run out of time to change, to create, or to be bold? Words of wisdom?
I don't think you can ever run out of time. I mean, a large a large part of my friend circle, they're close to 70 and they're still surprising me and still blowing my mind every day. So, I think that you just always keep pushing and remember what you're doing it for. Remember that it's important to push and grow and evolve, and, for your family, but it's also important to do that for yourself, and taking time for
Yes.
yourself, and
Yes.
finding purpose and meaning in things you do, and finding like the love in it and enjoyment of it. Um, and I'm actually really grateful for my friend group because the age range is so wide that I get to like see all these different perspectives in life, and everybody's doing the same thing, and everybody's such a hard worker and so inspiring. And so, yeah, I think just also surrounding yourself with people who make you want to push yourself, who you look
Mm-hmm.
up
Yeah.
to. And,
Yeah.
and I've really, speaking of horror, I have, this amazing group of women who work in horror that we all get together often once a month, and we just spend time talking to each other. We have drinks and food, and it's been like something that we all look forward to so much, and support each other and talk about what we're doing. And it just really, you realize that, like, oh, all of these women are all doing that, and they're all
Yeah.
inspiring. And I think
That's so
surround yourself
great.
with that.
It's beautiful. It's a community.
Yeah.
It's a
It
community.
is.
And the support that you give one another is extraordinary. That's great.
Every artist leaves an imprint in some way. What do you hope yours is or says about you?
I want people to enjoy my work and see that I just went for it, and I was vulnerable and raw, and hopefully inspire, a younger generation to do the same things. But also, yeah, I think it goes back to like kindness and just people like loving you as a person and wanting to surround yourself with people that are like you. And I just hope that when I'm not here, that people remember me as being kind and doing the work and supporting them. And I really believe in like supporting your friends, supporting the younger generation, and yeah.
I can understand why you and Barbara are such good friends, because she has that same core value, sweetness, kindness about her. So yeah, you two are like two peas in a pod. I love it. If your life carried a message, what do you hope that others would glean from it?
Believe in yourself, do the things that you love to do. Life's too short to, just don't get in your own way, and just go for it, and keep working towards it. Yeah, and be kind and be good to other people, and just embrace the community. I think that's all the same. I just think it's just important that those are the things that make me happy. So I just think you should do the things that make you happy. Sometimes you have to do hard things, and that's okay, but you can try to find the good in it and the outcome of it. And, I think just, yeah, supporting one another and loving one another, and, hopefully my daughter will carry that on too. And, I'm already seeing that in her, and that's really all I want.
So finally, Halloween is here. And if there's one film, one story that you would like to share with people, a Halloween centric story, what would it be?
Going back to being young, because you guys made me go all the way back, I remember the very first scary movie I really watched. I was in a hotel room with my mom, and I think it was her boyfriend at the time, and I was 3. And they we had two like little twin beds, and then I had to sleep on the floor in the middle. And they were watching The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Oh,
And
Love that movie.
I was so terrified. I cried all night. He was definitely under the bed, for sure. But that movie was the first thing that like really traumatized me to my core. So, I mean, why not go watch The Fly for Halloween? But I do always watch the original Halloween too for Halloween. That's an important one. And I try to do this thing where I watch one horror movie every single night in October. I almost watch a horror movie every night anyway, but I try to make it like
I was going to say. Right.
Yeah, we watch a lot of horror in this house. Like my daughter like asks to go to sleep watching a horror movie almost every night. So
Well, Chrissy, we have reached the end of the show where we end each show with what we call the significant 7. These are the same 7 questions for every guest. They don't change. So are you ready for the significant? They're rapid fire. So are you ready for the significant 7?
I hope so. Let's go.
If you could choose one word that holds the most significance in your life, whether it defines you, guides you, or challenges you, what would it be and why?
Love, because I don't think anything's worth it without it.
What is the most significant piece of advice you've ever received?
I think I was told at a younger age, not to just to do you and not worry about what other people think. And it seems so simple, but in that time I needed to hear it and just be like, like there's a whole group, there's a whole community that understands you, and you're not the only person like that. So just be you, and ultimately the more yourself you can be, the more you will succeed in your life. More authentic,
What is the most significant risk you've ever taken?
Probably starting my production company and making film. Every single one is a risk, but and also I think maybe I guess bringing a child into the world, especially right now, I think it's a risk, but it's completely worth it.
What is the most significant life lesson you've ever learned?
Ultimately, how you will be happiest and how you will win at life is by treating other people kindly.
What significant relationship do you feel has shaped you the most?
The one with my daughter, for sure. I mean, I know I've talked about her a lot, but just she sort of changed the way I look at everything and the type of person I want to be, and the things I want to succeed at, and just really pushed me to be as good as possible, and also learn things about myself that I didn't even know. And I swear I learned things because of her every single day. So
what significant moment in your life changed how you see the world?
I think it's the same answer. I think giving birth to a child and just you take time to appreciate things that you forget about as you get older, or you might get jaded, you might not appreciate, and it slows you down a little bit and makes you stop and appreciate things.
What is the most significant truth you've come to understand about yourself?
That I'm okay the way I am. I don't need all the extra things. At the end of the day, if I didn't have a lot of the things that I have now, it's okay, and I'll be okay, and just to be authentically myself and be okay with myself. And that goes back to like the physical. It goes back to just, trying to be really comfortable inside with who I am, and what I give to other people, and what I will accept from other people. And I just think just that's the most important thing, is being happy with yourself.
Well, Chrissy, I think you're amazing. And thank you.
I think you're amazing.
So do I. So do I.
think
This
you're
was
amazing.
incredible. My
Thank
You're
you
goodness.
just
so
like
much.
witchy. How could I not?
And thank you so much for coming and being a part of our Halloween episode. And we can't wait to
Absolutely.
see what you do next. And who knows,
We'll
we may
be
be
following
collaborating.
you.
We may be collaborating soon on something.
I would love that. That'd be
Because
amazing.
I'm a big fan. So everyone,
Wow.
have a happy and safe
Safe, healthy
Halloween.
Halloween.
Yes.
Happy Halloween.
What
All
a
right,
joy.
everybody.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Chrissy. Mwah. You are
Thank
just
you.
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Until next time, take care.